Good morning. It's 3 minutes after 9 o'clock, and welcome to the Point for this morning. And on Tuesdays, by now, you know it is dubbed Opposition Tuesdays, Opposition's Day to be with us. And this morning, I am joined by young Christopher Allie Jr., and he is currently the caretaker for the constituency of St. George South. And it's a good time to say good morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here, and good morning to all your viewers, and thank you for having me here this morning.
Well, the pleasure is always ours here at the GBN to have, these sort of conversations, because at the end of the day, it's all about, empowering and enlightening the people, and especially now, it's safe to say that electioneering has started.
Yeah, it's safe to say.
Yeah, it's safe to say that. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, I'm very energized right now. I think as being on the ground a bit more, hearing a lot more from the community members and learning a lot more about my community, it has invigorated me and kind of put a lot more drive into like what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do with the New National Party, which is to impart a type of change that would impact people's lives. So that is what has been really invigorating for me.
Wonderful. And very often you hear young people saying, me and this politics thing, Papa, me ain't taking no part in that. How did you get involved in politics? I mean, it's the first time I'm actually interviewing you onto the point, so I want to be educated. How politics? Why politics?
It's twofold. It started with a request by my grandmother to help the New National Party. She was not doing well, and she was a diehard supporter. And she asked me, as the oldest grandchild of hers, would I help out in any way? I am very close with my grandmother, so I took it as, a request by her, so I did it. But in the process of volunteering in the party, I realized there were so much gaps and so much things that we could have done better. And I guess I got the bug in seeing how I could help my country by being a bit more politically active. What I experienced in that was, I gained a community, I gained a family within the New National Party, people who called and looked forward when I was there in a meeting and when I wasn't there in a meeting, people who pulled me in and gave me responsibility and told me that, to help your country sometimes takes different forms, and I felt that this was my form of helping my country and taking part in a more intrinsic way.
And what has the ride been like thus far?
It has not been the most smooth ride. Coming from a private sector kind of mentality and going into which is community building and politics in general, it has been an eye-opener, and it has been not just an opener in eyes to seeing what happens to my fellow Grenadians, but it also has been an emotional soul opener for myself, getting down to seeing true value, what people really need, how much people are suffering. There's some days when I do community work, I take a next 24 hours just to kind of process the emotional things that what people are going through, because I have empathy, and it's hard to see fellow young people, my fellow Grenadians, sometimes they're not in positions where they ought to be, and it hurts, and that kind of sometimes takes a toll, but I have very strong support mechanisms within the party, from leadership go down, who call and support and give advice, tell me how to handle these things, tell me how to be more proactive in, measuring and being able to choose your days, know how to communicate with people, and I feel very encouraged. I feel supported. I feel that I have not just a political party that I represent, but I have a huge family that I'm a part of right now.
Now, you, as I said in the opening, you are currently the caretaker for the constituency of South St. George. What is your assessment of that constituency?
Well, first off, the South is the economic capital of this country. Second of all, it is a tourism belt and the tourism capital of this country. I believe it's a new city and our new capital of our country soon to be. I think the South shows Grenadians past, present, and our potential. I think that is how we should look at the South, as not just a constituency, a place where people go to get jobs and opportunity, but an area where we can showcase how we as Grenadians are developing our country that represents us. We have so much issues in the South, and it's not because it's people, it's because of opportunity. You have people who come from the countryside and look for jobs within the tourism belt, and housing is a problem. So sometimes they make their own housing in some areas of the community. Not the best, but it's where they can afford, and they're just trying to build themselves up. We see the same area has massive housing communities and planned development, and areas that have no planned development. We see areas that are continually developing in the total belt, but still not servicing the community that it is a part of. There's a lot of moving parts within the South, and I think we need to have a more harmonious look of development, how we both create development for the business sector, but also for our people, where they can find a benefit and a gain within the development of its country. Simple things like footpaths, proper for people to walk on, going to buy groceries or going and do their errands. Drainage for the roads you do in certain communities like the Gwankai area, areas in Frequenté, Valley, Mount Hartman, wherever you want to put it. There are concrete roads, but not enough adequate slip drains and these kind of things. The water would find a way, and sometimes it erodes people's foundations, destroys their properties, and these are serious problems affecting the community. And I think right now, when I look at the South, I see a vast amount of potential. I see where we are as a country, and I see where we could be. I see that we can inspire a generation by how we develop the South, how we can show Grenadians, a lot of young Grenadians, that Grenadians are now remaking their country in a way that reflects them and their needs. This is an important thing that we should start to embark on. Urban development that is climate smart, climate resilient, but also intrinsically helping the community that it is part of.
What would you say is the psyche of the constituents? How I mean, you do walkthroughs and you engage. You're an entrepreneur, so you must be engaging with people from the constituency. What would you say is the psyche? Are people anxious for tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be a better day, or what would you say is the general psyche? Is there hope or is there hopelessness?
A lot of people are hurting. A lot of working Grenadians are hurting. Not of people who are unemployed, or people like to think that they're sitting on the block, and they're people who are going to jobs every day and don't know how to face the reality that they're in. Trying to work overtime, trying to find extra shifts, trying to find extra hustles, and still losing that time with their families and still not being able to make ends meet. It is immensely frustrating for people. And what I get in the community is a lot of people are hurting economically. They don't feel a level of direct purpose and vision in terms of how people can help themselves and grow themselves by themselves. Not everybody's looking out for a handout. People are looking for the paths a government creates so that they themselves can find their own economic prosperity. They don't see these things happening. They see a lot of talk, but not very much action. What are the policies that directly pointed to people and their everyday lives? These are the kind of things people are worried about. I was speaking to a father of two beautiful girls I met in the community, and he and his partner are both working in the hotel industry. Their salaries are fluctuating because of their service charge and other things are riders when the hotel or tourism sector is doing well. But when it's a slower season, the salary is extremely affected. Those individuals who are hurting when they have a Grand Lake rate that went from $500 to close to $1,000, they're wondering, how do I feed my two daughters and still send them to school? What they end up doing is sacrificing from themselves, as good parents do. sacrificing their own nutrition, their own health to make sure their kids get a better start in life. But what happened to those parents when they fall ill? Who are going to support those children? And we're seeing a pattern starting to emerge in these communities that are where we're lacking good nutrition in these communities because people are choosing the kind of thing they can afford, which is sometimes canned foods and flour and starchy foods that can fill up. I know a guy who is cooking soup twice a week and making that spread for that entire week because that could stretch, but he's not getting true good nutrition. He lost a lot of weight. That's the kind of thing that is happening in our community. We've seen a lot of young Grenadians dying, but we're not asking ourselves, what are the conditions they are under that they can't get good nutrition, and young people all over are suffering, taking abusive drugs and so forth.
Now, you being the caretaker, I am absolutely certain that your intent is to represent the constituency in the next general elections, which is constitutionally due in 2027. And if you're in the race, you want to win the race. Let's assume election is called and you go to the polls and you emerge as the winner of that constituency, thus by affording you a place in Parliament. What do you think would be your most urgent focal points for the constituency?
Well, I see it in three ways. One, we have to start getting better with our community has a lot of transiting either through tourists, people going for business, and people are going for the airport. There's a lot of transit going on through our community. One, we have to get better with making sure our road networks are properly maintained and make sure there's enough slip roads that we have a network that can handle the amount of traffic we experience inside the constituency. One, that will be transport. Two, it will be creating resiliency models for people, where people who are working within the community can see a better earning potential. I love to call out, say the South is the economic bastion of our country, but what are we putting in policy as government officials to make sure people see a better day, that we get an ability where people decide, I'm going to work harder to get a better life for my family. People are de-incentivized to work today. I was speaking to young people, and they tell me, say, boss, I work 8-9 hours extra this week, do this, do that. You know what I see on my pay slip? I hold $500 the government eat off of me, and that same $500 I can barely stretching it to make the bills meet. So what working extra for? I better spend the time home, relaxing and, recouping myself mentally than going out and stress myself on a job. That is hard for not just the business owners who struggle to get talent and people who want to work hard, but it affects the productivity of our nation, the type of good service our customers, our tourism sector needs, the type of customer service we expect from our country. How do we incentivize those people to work harder? That is the kind of things in government I'm trying to focus on. Next, following that is creating the type of frameworks where businesses in the community feel empowered to invest, being able to take a risk to help develop our community, because the fact is, I'm not going to look for always outside capital to help develop the constituency and the people. I'm looking for Grenadians to help develop the community so that Grenadians can benefit from. So what are the policies we're creating for Grenadian businessmen and businesswomen to thrive in our community, to take a risk and make sure they can help build their business? We have a huge thing in the South where a lot of people love to say Grannans, because it's where people go to Lime, the Junction Brewery. We have a lot of good entertainment. Wall Street, which is our late night food option. These are lovely starts, but what are we doing to facilitate and put our growth on our country on a pedestal that is comparative to that of Barbados or Saint-Tropez in France, or anywhere that tourists also travel before they come to our destination? What are we doing to make sure we elevate our cuisine, our types of entertainers, these things? We need to create an entertainment district in our South to make sure we have the type of business places that reflect the phytosanitary needs that we want to make sure that we keep a standard of right through. We want to make sure that we have where young people can get their first start in starting their business or creating their own little food stall. We have to create a chain, a ecosystem within the South that helps empower young entrepreneurs, who helps build legacy businesses, who helps other people who are starting out get their first job and help them get their first type of housing that is affordable. We have an affordable housing crisis in the South. Too much people cannot afford any apartment because everything is quoted in US, while people are getting paid in EC. This is a serious problem for young people like myself. I am living with my parents. It is hard to rent right now because rent is a huge cost to anybody's budget.
Having said that, there is also, with you for a break, but there is also that situation where it is believed and it is perceived that the south of the island is the area that you find them, if not, it's one of the areas where you find the most squatting.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the case? And what do you think, with you coming into office, could do to alleviate that problem?
First, we have to help solve it by the supply issue. We have to create a planned development for people looking for first-time housing within the South. That is a rent capped, so that they can find, they're just young people who are trying to get their first jobs. We need to create type of social housing that helps embolden that. For the people who are already in the communities, who already established properties and have property rights, we have to make sure those people are also in, because they happened in a way that was not planned. We have a lot of infrastructure to help those communities. Drainage, making sure that they have the other one house wastewater does not end up on the next property. Making sure there's proper sewage lines, make sure there's proper pump lines to make sure water reaches to all the communities. Make sure that there's sufficient ways of planning that all wastewater and sewage does not gather in certain areas. These are key parts of infrastructure development that has been missed over years, and it's still being missed today. Because when I walk through these communities, I see new roads, but these same concrete roads are being undermined by water. So what is the government money, the tax-paying dollars, are being put at risk without proper development? We can't do a road without proper drainage. That's how you preserve the road for that it would last 15 to 20 years. That is how we get that rate of return for our capital deployed as a country. So these are serious things that we need to start talking about and focusing on as a country.
You're the caretaker, but you're also a constituent. You're being represented at the moment by the Honorable Andy Williams.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with his representation?
Well, obviously, I'm running against Honorable Andy Williams, so obviously I don't think I am satisfied, because I believe that anybody who put in charge of running a constituency should be able to not just do roads, as he said. He criticized our government for just saying that we can't eat roads. But that is the exact what he is hoiting up as success and achievements. These cannot be, it can't change the rules in the game. What have you done to really intellectually formalize areas and plans that help people grow? Nobody wants to beg. No one wants to be put up on Facebook when they get some help from the government. People are full of pride in this country. We want people to find a way that they can find their own happiness and success by their own means. So I'm not the type of candidate who would tell everyone what they want to hear. I would tell you what you need to hear, that we are a country that right now the government has put us on a deficit budget. We have to now look at some harsh realities of how we rebuild this country financially, so that when we look at our creditors and when we ask them for certain help and alleviations, that we can speak from a point where we look like we're fiscally responsible. I don't think that level of fiscal responsibility is being adhered to and the global community is recognizing. And I think that is a serious thing we need to start talking about. We, as a government, we need to be the last stopgap for our people. That if when the economy is slow, that we can interject and invigorate and push the economy forward. That is the role of a sensible government, is to make sure to always be there for your people and not put your hands up in the air and say things are bad everywhere. So, but that's not true. Barbados is growing and thriving right now. The economy is getting more robust after coming from a situation of high fiscal constraints. but they did very tangible things that help with their growth internally, not looking for foreign direct investment, but what it did for Bajans to grow. That is the kind of policies I'm looking at as a Grenadian. I want to create an environment where I get Grenadians to invest in themselves, invest in other Grenadians, and help Grenadians thrive.
Okay. Folks, it's to the point. It's 23 minutes after 9 o'clock. We take a commercial break. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere.
Grenadians, get ready to commemorate National Heroes Day on Sunday, October 19th at the former Riviera Hotel site next to Comahorn Park. Grand Dance from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The theme for this year's commemoration, honoring our legacy, inspiring our future. This National Heroes Day commemoration promises to be one to remember with a prayer and worship segment, the spoken word, and a powerful message from our special guest speaker. National Heroes Day Commemoration 2025 will also see the official sword turning on the grounds of the Riviera site, which will then be known as National Heroes and Heritage Park. Sunday, October 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. National Heroes Day Commemoration, Monrouge, St. George. See you there. Grenada, let's celebrate the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert on Sunday, November 9th from 5 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center with the best of Grenada along with the Black Prince and the Pink Panther. Our partners, Hubbard's, GBN, Grenada Paper Products, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clax Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Brentville Credit Union, Bryden and Miners, Agents 4, Johnny Walker, Smirnoff Vodka, and Campari, Renwick Thompson and Company Limited, Pierre Marcel, Hard On Plus, Gittins Healthcare, Dollar Savers Auto Parts, Rise and Shine Supermarket, Springs Food Mart, Excel Plaza, Clem Vision Eye Center, Chillaxing Cafe, Answer Coating, Victory Bar, Blue Bubba's PA Rental and Events Supply, Chateau de la Motte, Grenada, Captain Harris Apartments, Gem Holiday, Beach Resorts, Dana's City Inn, Glen Egg, Spring Water, and the Grenada Trade Center. Sunday, November 9th, 5 p.m. Grenada Trade Center, the 19th annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert. Please be seated by 4 p.m. Hubbard's Legends in Concert.
Grenada, the stage is set. Brilliant minds, fresh perspectives. It's more than competition. It's confidence, creativity, and critical thinking in action. The Grenlec Debates, powering bright ideas. The Grenlec Debates will be broadcast on GBN TV, Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. and on Sunday at 4 p.m. Matches will also be available for viewing on Grenlec's YouTube channel. Tune in.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. It's To The Point. It's 27 minutes after 9 o'clock. With me in the studio this morning is caretaker for the constituency of St. George South, Christopher Allie Jr. Caretaker, before we left off, we were talking on the economy, and I want to center the conversation a lot around that because you're an entrepreneur, you're a business-oriented person. And what is your take on the national economy?
It's tough right now. I don't think there's not one strata of society that's not being affected by the economy right now. People the businessmen who are storing like hardware, who are storing a large amount of lumber, expecting like a thriving Build Back Better housing system, and that program has stopped, and now they have a huge amount of inventory sitting down in stock. And these businessmen, no Grenadians don't build much wood houses anymore. So that is a serious liability on their books that they're worried about, that they're trying to recoup from. Then there's the person who in the middle class who has a stable job, who is seeing a fixed salary but ever rising costs of fixed bills, like mandatory bills like NAWASA, electricity. At least we didn't see an upsurge in internet costs yet, but I'm holding my breath. Then you would see other things in grocery prices and these things. They're pinched from all sides. So there's a frustration in the middle class and that in the working class of our country. Then you see the people who are not in our elderly sector. They are technically out, but they're not really pushing out any sort of like investment, or they're spending their pension money wildly. They're mostly watching and making sure they pay their bills and adjust for the headwinds they see ahead. So there's a lot of caution in that part of the segment of the society. So what we see is a greater building up of risk aversion, people not ready, want to spend the little savings they have, and we've seen it in the economy today. I've been going around on weekends to most of the bars and the popular bars and restaurants in the south, and sometimes I even travel out to the south. I would go in St. Patrick's, so sometimes go on a long wall, go through Grenville, just to get a greater feel of the country economically. And what I'm getting, it's really hitting me in the face, is that it's just slow. Businesses just don't see the people, and they're worried about if they need to hold on that much staff, because that's one of the first huge expenses they have to think about. So they're thinking about sending home people or trying to put them into part-time, and then you have more Grenadians who are having less job stability. So it's a cycle and an angst that's building up. And what we're looking for is leadership to kind of show a hopeful path out of it, where we can see as a nation that things are a little tough now, but these are the kind of proactive measures we're doing to make sure that Grenadians can withstand what's happening right now and what can happen in the future. The fact is, most people I speak in the food service and not food services, but supermarket and distributive sector, they mostly tell me they're expecting a 20 to 25% increase in just the goods they're bringing in by November, long before December. So you're telling me we're experiencing just before the holidays a serious more increase in inflation, and that is a time where people want to be home with their families, cook a lovely meal. It's a time all Grenadians love to know, from house to house, a little sorrel, a little ham. That's how we know we lime in the season. We eat, we drink, we hang with our family. Exactly. How do you tell the Grenadians now that upcoming on that season, your company may not even give you a bonus? You'll have even greater expenses from all sides, and there's no kind of hope on the horizon. Grenadians are getting more frustrated and less hopeful. But I personally see that as a challenge that we should take on, because this is a perfect time to see where the fault cracks of where the economy is broken and make remedy, seal it, and make sure that it is built stronger for the next 10 and 15 years ahead. We have the policies within the party working on fine-tuning, making sure that all sectors of the economy are making sure they're addressed. We have an incredible core of young people who are lending their voices to forming that kind of plan, because young people feel so disenchanted and disenfranchised right now. They don't feel that their government is listening to them. They don't feel that they feel any representation. So I take it upon myself as a young person myself that I'm fighting for policies that help build young Grenadians. I want to fight for Grenadians who, just like myself, who want to help stay in their country and build their country and build their wealth and their happiness and build a family and make sure their futures are something that's bright for their children. So they don't have to worry if you have to just make sure and have your child in the States or England so that they have a passport and a lifeline to get out of the country country. That should not be the way our Grenadians think.
You raised a very critical point there. Earlier you said that your constituency can be termed as the business capital of Grenada. Now, businesses, one of the biggest hindrances that they find is the cost of operation. You spoke of salaries and so forth, but one of in startup businesses, one of the things that when you look at your business plan and you see the cost for electricity, and it just went up again. If let's assume your government was to get into office, what measures do you think you all can take that will reduce the cost of electricity?
Well, let's be honest. If you look at the electricity bill, the three parts that make up the electricity bill, the 2/3 of it is controlled by the government. And let's be honest, Grenlec is now a state-owned enterprise. So government has a high amount of policy or ability to control that type of inflation, which is cost of energy. Energy is one of the highest costs for any business operating. For one right now, the place real hot. Everybody burning out of cost in electricity for AC. This is a huge part of everybody's bill. You're seeing businesses who would see when they look at their bill now a huge jump in their costs. How do they rationalize that when profit margins are slim already, and you have import costs that are constantly varying? So they can't see stable profit margins. So they have to deleverage some of the risk and make sure they have a stable profit margin to make sure they can thrive in an economy that's unstable. So that means sometimes letting go some of the risk factors such as employment and sometimes training for employees. We can't invest in training for employees when you're looking to survive as a business. So employees don't get that kind of cross-training that will help build them further. There's a lot of different factors that affect the economy when things are stagnating and spiraling. I think right now we need to start thinking proactively, not just racing for quick remedies or reactive thinking. I wanted to start focusing long term of how we not just build our core, our intellectual core in our country, but how we retain that. How we make these Grenadians who come back after 2 degrees or 3 degrees and experience in a country, how do you get them to come back and also stay here and invest here? And how do you get other Grenadians to help them knowledge transfer, to help build industries that help the other young Grenadians come up? I don't think Grenadians need to leave our shores every time to find things that work. We have a small country, but that is only because of geography. We can be really big in our approach and focus on a lot of type of growth models that reflect our country.
There's something that could be considered as well. If you talked about the geographics of our nation, if you look at Singapore, Singapore uses their geographical location to their benefit. So electricity, manufacturing, they go hand in hand. So if NNP was to get into office, what do you think are some of the measures you do now that Grenlec is, as you said, a state-run entity? What can you do to reduce the cost of electricity, because it is a hindrance?
Well, I won't go directly into policy of what the party is planning, because we are planning as a very robust strategy to address the energy crisis in Grenada. But I would tell you this, is that the type of strategies that we are thinking is out of the box. And some of them is more so geared to a lot of democratization of the energy market. If you realize, in the past administration in the National Party, our leader, the Right Honourable Dr. Keith Mitchell, did a lot and took a lot of flack for trying to repurchase Grenlec and make it a state asset. It is a national security asset to control our energy in our country. I don't think the last 30 years, this is the model, the type of energy generation and that kind of thing, using diesel and generators. That is understandable. But with technology, we have a greater opportunity to take advantage and help grow our country and not focus on the old type of one company handling everything. We can create an ecosystem that empowers a lot of energy generation that is not just tied to Grenlec. You can have a company just purely in storage, taking things like wave energy, sun, solar, wind, and put it and store it in massive 40-foot containers, battery farms, and deploy it on the grid in the nighttime and the high peak usage, so to make sure that we don't always have a situation where we're like load sharing or that kind of stuff. You can create a model where in communities such as the Grand Anse Valley, for instance, area has a lot of homes. Why is it that in these homes, and they will tell you that one of the largest bill is electricity? Why do we do something like, instead of just increasing people's salaries and trying to make sure to compete with inflation, I think we should create a model where those areas should have solar parks where they're off-grid mostly. So those areas don't have to pay a high exorbitant electricity rate, and allow them to have that free capital to spend for their families, upgrade their homes, put back in the economy. But these are the kind of strategies that we're seeing across the globe. Proactive strategies that are helping people build, but preserve the situation they're in right now, where they want to provide for their families a safe environment where they can have a cool area. And I just think right now we should start taking proactive measures to help people's lives and build them.
We're due for another commercial break, after which we're going to open up the lines a bit, right? The south of the island, okay, that's the industrial belt. A lot of hotels, and we see it decentralizing now because we have Six Senses and Intercontinental about to be launched in St. David. There's a project in Bathway, Olivera, and so forth. But one of the things that we've noticed is that we have the hotels coming in, but maybe in the past, enough training opportunities were not available for people to really get into the hospitality industry. So even when we have these massive hotels and so forth coming in, the hospitality industry, we do not have that high level trained personnel. So you find these hotels, or the industry having to bring in foreigners to hold strategic positions because there aren't those trained personnel here. Do you think that would be something that your party would look into if they get into office?
Well, I just want to say food and tourism and culinary stuff is a passion of mine. And not in the sense of I'm actively in the tourism industry, but one of my businesses has been a mushroom farm in the gourmet sector of food. And when I tell you, I see such a lack of, focus towards that sector. I agree that we are bringing in foreign nationals to help, to fill in the gaps. And we're seeing Grenadians need to have more training ability. Training avenues. I think that is excellent. I think I would love to create a harmonious integration between the foreign affairs and GTA, so that we can look at countries, culinary capitals of the world, such as France, Japan, when it comes to fish, and things like Spain, Mallorca, when it looks at different types of meat and that kind of stuff, and send Grenadians for 6 to 1 year training with their other foreign liaison office, to make sure that we create a type of intellectual capacity or ability or skill set for our Grenadians, that they were more equipped to handle the types of international dishes and these kind of things that they will need in these hotels. We are seeing more and more 5-diamond and 5-star hotels, and we need to staff these with Grenadians. But we need to create a pipeline, so to speak, where we can funnel our best and brightest to areas of the world where they will get the type of skill set needed, so that when they come back, when they onshore these skills back to the country, that we can see a growth in how we present our local food. Because I'll be honest, we're just as ability, just like Japan, to get any amount of seafood, just like in the world. We can get some of the best tuna. Carib Sushi has the best sushi when it comes to the ahi tuna in the world, in my view. We have things that can showcase our country on a high level. I'm just saying we should need to gear it with a focus of both governmental, private sector, and our people. Like the TAM-CC school should just be a breeding ground of where we find our best culinary talent and get them the training they need so they can come back to Grenada and bring it home.
Because I look around the region, Jamaica. Jamaica has just won a couple awards, and when you look at the revenue from the tourism sector, they are approaching $5 billion US. $5 billion US dollars. I was talking to a friend of mine from Jamaica, and she says in Jamaica there isn't a tourist season. Boats come all the time. Okay, stay over visitors and so forth, all on the increase. But they have invested in that industry so that they have trained personnel. We've seen a situation where even in Grenada, we've been hiring Jamaicans to take prominent positions in our hotel industry. And I think it's about time, because in recent years, the focus have shifted from agriculture to tourism. So invest in it.
I think tourism is changing rapidly right now. Where the eyeballs is and what people are looking for tourism. Like, to be honest, I go on my YouTube or Instagram and I've seen about 10 different influencers cooking oxtail and rice and peas. Jamaica has exported not just their brand but their food culture. Oxtail and rice and peas was regarded as a poor man's food in Jamaica. But just like every country in the world where pizza was a poor man's food and pasta and tacos and all these was that, and then turned into culinary gems for a country to showcase. We have to find our culinary gem to showcase for our country. I would love for oil dung to hit that level, or stuffed breadfruit with different smoke herring, and that I want to see that level of our food culture elevated to international stardom. But how do you do that? When you look at that today, we have so much young people who are becoming young influencers. They are EXO King Dre and these young guys who are putting out content so much and taking their job seriously. We need to start thinking of having a little training camp for young future influencers. People who are embodying and embarking of showcasing our country on a global audience scale. When you're talking about fish and tourism, you're supposed to have a young man going and do a dive with the GoPro, catching the fish, coming from the beach with the partners and starting a fire, cleaning that fish, going in a bush and picking up some shadow benny and a little wild thing and seasoning it up. Take salt water and rinse it off, put it on a skillet and cook it. Invite some friends and showcase that on YouTube. That goes globally. When a person who is sitting at their desk in Canada or the UK or the US, they're saying, man, that is such a simple, lovely life. I want to come down Grenada and experience that. That is the type of engineering of the type of tourism market that we're seeing right now in the future. We're supposed to have an influence for every segment of our tourism. We're supposed to have an influencer for food, influencer for agriculture, or Rastafarian who is up in the lands, We're supposed to be making these things fun and popular and enthusiastic and letting showcase our young talent in this country. We have artisans in this country who do lovely beadwork and straw hats and woodwork. We need to showcase them. And
we need to sell Grenada.
Sell Grenada, but sell it in an aspect that we're seeing young people who are choosing to be here and thrive here and showcasing that to the world that we're happy in our little island. And that would bring in not just YouTube revenue one day, and we have to talk about that too, because we have to make sure that our Grenadians can get the international revenue that these things do, because we don't have that financing model where they're getting money directly when they earn from YouTube views and these kind of things. We need to find a monetization and fix that. That's a separate issue. But we need to get people looking at the jobs of the future. Yeah. Content creation is the jobs of the future.
Folks, it's 14 minutes on to 10 o'clock. It's to the point. We take a commercial break. When we come back, we continue talking and we will also entertain your calls. Stick and stay with us. It's to the point.
style. The lifeblood flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley said. One love on top. The sewage water out of sight, but it's always wrong. Don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corals, mangroves and fish they weep. Grey water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We use the water with a mindful mind. It's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow. No clean water, no vibes we grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Grenada, the stage is set. Brilliant minds, fresh perspectives. It's more than competition. It's confidence, creativity, and critical thinking in action. The Grenlec Debates, powering bright ideas. The Grenlec Debates will be broadcast on GBN TV, Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. and on Sunday at 4 p.m. Matches will also be available for viewing on Grenlec's YouTube channel. Tune in.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. It's 11 minutes on to 10 o'clock, and at this time, we'll continue the discourse, but we will also accommodate your calls. You know the numbers, 435-2041, and you can call via the WhatsApp platform as well on the same number. Now, let me implore you in calling, remember, we are being respectful. Okay, and no disrespect at all. You know, make your comments. You can make your comments forcefully without being disrespectful. All right. So, having said that, let's go straight to the telephone line right away. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Hi. Good morning to you, Innocent.
Welcome to the program.
And to your guest. I don't know the young man well. I know his family, his parents very well. But let me say, I'm a bit disappointed. It's good to hear him speak, and he's very eloquent and articulate. But he's here representing a party that has had 5 terms of office in the last quarter of a century. 5 terms. They had 5 chances to get it right. And a lot of the issues that he's raising are the product of the failure of that party. It's very obvious that most of the new NDC folks are not talking about the record of the party as much. They're trying to just promote themselves. But at least he should try to be credible and truthful. He is talking, for instance, which middle-class family has an electricity bill of $500? You're talking about 2 people working in a hotel. They have 2 kids, but they have an electricity bill of $500, and it has doubled to $1,000. I don't have an electricity bill. My bill hardly ever reaches $300. So when we're talking about things that we want to be listened to, we must be realistic and don't just throw things out. Because if you're paying the electricity bill of $500, you probably have an air-conditioned home, you are doing very well, and nobody's electricity bill has doubled. The electricity bill has fluctuated during the year. Some parts of the year it was very low, lower than last year, and now it's coming up again, and I guess it will go down again. But we have to be truthful and honest. So if we want to be listened to and taken seriously. So I'm very disappointed that some of the things you're saying, there are things that could be their dreams, aspirations, pie in the sky, whatever you want to call them, but they were not done by the 5 opportunities that your party had. And some of the things you're mentioning, they are not facts. They are made up stuff. And so I'm disappointed about that. But, young man, I want to encourage you. Continue, but you have a long way to go. You can improve. I'm encouraging you to improve.
Thank you very much, caller. You want to respond?
No, I mean, that is the caller's opinion on the matter. I mean, I cannot, a person who has an AC in their house should not be disregarded as someone who's just well-to-do. They're just in a circumstance where they need to have a cool circumstance to sleep. I don't think because they're experiencing double or whatever increase in their it should be judged or anything like that. So I refer to comments, but like in terms of the party aspect, I think where the party has grown this country over the 23 years in government, that we have done extremely well, and I stand by my party and its record of what it has done for this country. I think the baton is on me, and the onus is on our generation to take the baton from whatever aspect of where you thought the party has brought the country, but it is upon my generation and myself as a Grenadian to help push the country to new heights and build further from where our forefathers and foremothers has brought this party to. So I take his recommendations, and I plan to work hard for my country.
Okay. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to
Welcome.
your guest. Yes, I've been listening. Most of what has been said by the guest this morning. The price of electricity is exorbitant, and we have not had any significant raise in oil prices on the global market. That's a fact. Okay? He made mention, the caller made mention something about person having 500. I know of a friend of mine. She lives by herself and her bill is over $600. She has seen a 30-something to about 40% increase in her electricity bill last month. She showed it to me. Okay? I think some of the things that the caller, that the host is saying, they are reasonable and intelligent and futuristic. You must be visionary if you are going to be a leader. In retrospect, about the years that the NNP has spent in office, they made mistakes, yes, but they did a lot. For example, the development of water. The lines that are being run today in Grand Anse with the G-Cruise project and GIZ project, these monies were negotiated and secured by the past administration. Grenada got over 100 million EC dollars in grants. No other OECS territory has received such a huge amount for water development in the last 15 years. And that is a fact, because I have spent my working life in the National Water and Sewage Authority. So that's a plus. It was not all gloom and doom. Look at the improvement of the international airport. Okay? This is a plus. It was condemned. Imagine this, and I'm closing. If rain falls, or rain is coming, and you have to disembark the aircraft, you have to wait till rain finishes. Or if rain is coming, you have to wait till it's over before you board the aircraft. The government saw that and changed it, and it has been changed, okay? And that was opposed by those in office. Look at the sale of our passports. More passports have been sold, Grenada passports, in the last 3 years than what the NNP had sold in 15 years. The records are there. While that too was condemned, NNP did good. They made mistakes, yes, but they were a friend of the poor people. They managed the economy excellent, especially after the pandemic. It is a fact. The records are there. So, my brother, do what you have to do. You are young. Take positive advice. Do not condemn everything, because there are some okay things that NDC has done. Do not be like them and criticize everything, or criticize for criticizing sake. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
I completely agree with the caller, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not the type of politician that is just here putting out negativity. I agree with a lot of people in politics who are saying that the discourse has become too negative and too vitriolic. I want to make sure that the ideas discussed is on intellectual basis and the positive effects it can have on people. I don't want to get down into... Do you ever interact with the Honorable Andy Williams? Yeah, we see each other from time to time, and the greeting is as personable and kind as always. I view Andy as just as a Grenadian, young Grenadian, just like me, fighting for his country, and that I just believe that our ways are different,
okay,
and our ideals are different, and our ways to get the job done is differently. So, yeah.
All right, we've got a caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning to you, and good morning to your host, Mr. Allie. I want to congratulate you on such a great effort this morning. I think you would have breathed a fresh breath of air into politics, and this is the type of politics that we Grenadians as has been longing for since the National Democratic Congress came into office. What we notice is a lot of hate and divisiveness going on. Persons cannot speak up for their rights, and if they speak up, they are being manipulated in other forms, and we do not stand for that. As a country that believes in freedom and has gotten their freedom from since the time of slavery abolition, we really cannot go back. So I think you're a politician for this time, and you are on point. So continue to do the great work in the South. I know definitely that you will be one of the great representatives there, because you have spoken, and you will judge a man by the word that comes out of his mouth.
Thank you very much, caller. Some commendation there. Folks, it's 2 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Let's quickly go to the call. Good morning, caller.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Joseph, for giving me the opportunity to bowl the last over. You know, to a great extent, I'm confused and befuddled, if I may say, and disappointed to a certain extent as expressed by a previous caller on some of the things I'm hearing a young aspirant to the holding of political office in this here country. I thought by now the young people of this country had understood that nothing, quote unquote, nothing can be built on placid ground. In other words, unstable ground. Grenada is an unstable country. And the future would depend on the foundation that is built into the future. I would like to ask is it Mr. Diali, is it the name?
That is correct.
Mr. Diali, some months ago you were there and I asked you a particular question. I gave you some homework. Read the foundation, the constitutionality of this here country. Evidence abounds that there's never been a politically independent and sovereign nation state. I wish you had discovered, I hope you had discovered something that you would like to report on that task. I trust you remember. Secondly, Mr. Diali, I'm concerned because, as I mentioned, that we just deja vu as relates to politics. I want to see a different kind of politics in this country. I want to see real politics and less demagoguery. Therefore, I ask you, can you give me two philosophical beliefs of yours which will set the basis for your political, economic, and social theories that you propose to sell to the people of this country? Observe my vision of politics. I wipe out demagoguery. I want to hear facts. I trust you understood my question, so have a nice day, will you?
Thank you, caller.
In terms of my political philosophy and theories that connect my beliefs, I would say that I'm a Christian conservative that has rooted in political theories and such as conservatism, capitalism, freedom of individual rights. I'm rooted in libertarian philosophies of people where to find their own paths of happiness. And I'm a person who believes in democracy. So in those are the tenets of what makes me who I am. I believe both in governing people, you should be honest about that. And yeah, that is where I'm a capitalist, I'm a Christian conservative, and I am pushed by libertarian progressive philosophies that help rooted in people finding their own pieces and their own happiness in whatever forms they choose.
We're just about to wrap up time because we're just a minute away. Are there any final comments you'd like to share with our audience?
I just want to tell the audience that I do listen to every one of the critiques and commendations that everyone has said. I do believe that this is a time for us Grenadians to raise our discourse politically. I don't believe in shutting off voices because they're not a part of my political party. I view all Grenadians equally, and they're my neighbors, they're my friends, they're my family who share different political beliefs, and I just want to increase the discourse where we can find ways to come together as a country. I think it is time for us to unite and time for us to build our country in a more proactive way. I believe that I am the candidate for the South, from the South, who has a vision for the South that is greater than what is presently being employed. I think I bring certain facets to the table that not just talk in pie in the sky ideas, as one caller said. Every one of my ideas I put out, I am hesitant because I have sat down and properly written out strategies of how attainable everything I have ever said is attainable. It just depends on the political will of a country and its people to make these things attainable. I want people to see that I am striving as a young person not just to represent a party, but I represent a generation and a people who want differently for their country. They want to take part in their country to build their country and to build it that represents them and represents the values they hold forth. I think we're in a very key point in our history where we're holding on from things from the past and we're also building for the future. I don't think we should break off one end to build the future. I think we should pull both parts of our country together, what is rooted in our history and our legacy, but building upon our country that can facilitate the growth that is necessary for the future. I am having a meeting in the South tomorrow, Wednesday at 6:37 in Grand Valley. I want all people in the South to come out and hear what I have to say. I believe that right now it is an important time for our country to fight for our country in a different type of battlefield, to start to bring ideas to the forefront that help build Grenada for the future, for future Grenadians. And that is what I have to say, and I'm here to speak to any Grenadian who see me on the street, to talk to me, to engage in ideas and discourse. I love every one of my people. I wouldn't have done this or taken this path in my life if I don't have a deep love for my people and my country. And I just want to say to everyone that I thank you all, and I'm going to be your representative for the South very soon.
I almost said Senator Allie, but you're not there. Yeah. That's that. But Mr. Allie, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on To The Point, and I want to wish you success in all your endeavors. And as I always say, just be the best that you can be, and that's all that is asked. Be the best version of yourself. Thank you. And time and history will do the rest.
Thank you.
So thank you for being on the program this morning, folks. That's it for To The Point. I've been your host, Gordon Joseph, thanking you very much for staying with us. Have a good day, everybody.